Hi there. Today we're going to rekey a Schlage lock because who has time or money for a locksmith? It's really not that hard. So what we're going to do, you need your lock, a rekeying kit, and the key that you're trying to match. You will probably need a Phillips head screwdriver also, but I have my handy dandy multi-tool. You can see there's my lock. I'll go ahead and pull out pieces. This is not the one that you need. You need the side that has the tumbler in it. So this little piece right there, that silver piece, that's what we're gonna need. And so to get that out, we're gonna have to unscrew that Phillips head right there. Switch to a real screwdriver real quick, because I didn't realize how deep that was going to be. Okay, once you have that screw removed, this whole piece should just slide right out. Now take note of the orientation of your bar, and also you can see that little brass pin. We're gonna have to push that little brass pin down while we unthread this cap portion right here. It helps if you have a small tool that can hold this down, because it will want to snag on the teeth like it's supposed to. Now once you get it all the way unthreaded, don't let this pin come all the way apart. And then pull off the cap. I would also note that you have this washer that is split, and it was sitting on top of the bar like this. Hopefully you can see that. Sitting on top of the bar, and the bar was sitting right there, and that washer lines up with the little brass pin. So we're going to put that off to the side. We're going to pull the brass pin out and put that off to the side, and then this whole piece should be able to push out once the key is in it. So what the key is going to do is pick up the there's the spring for the brass, and this little back cover for the lock right there. But what the key does is it pushes up all of the pins. There's two sets of pins, one here and one here. This lines up all the pins so that they're at the shear line, and so they can turn. And then once there's that, then this just slides in and out like this. Now don't do that until you have the appropriate tool from your rekeying kit. And that is this little brass piece, whatever that is. And what this is going to do is keep the pins in the lock safe without having the tumbler in there. It's going to keep them from sliding out. So see, now these are your pins right there, and when you pull the key out, you can see that they kind of drop down to where they would normally be in the lock, and that's what makes your lock work. So on most keys, you're going to have a number, and that tells you left to right what size pins you have. And then your pins in your rekey kit are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then you could just find the appropriate pin if you have the right key. Now, I do not have the right key. I have this key. So what I need to do is dump out the pins you can see right now when the key's in, they're all flush, and they're exactly flush. So that's what I'm gonna do with this one once I put the pieces back. Now what you could do is take these pins and you can reuse them and put them back in here, and I just might do that. But all you have to do is plop all the pins out. Now there's holes there. I'm gonna take my key, I'm gonna put my key in, and I did look, but I don't know which one it is, so I can't find it. We're just gonna try and put some of these in and see where they fit. So I'm gonna start with this number 8 pin, and might be hard to see, but there's a bump right there. It doesn't fit all the way. So if we go a little bit lower, nope. So 8 isn't gonna cut it. And these pins are tapered on one end, flat on the other end. So the flat end needs to go to the shear line. The tapered end goes down to where the key is, and that way they can slide over the key. Again, very close, but not there. And that one looks like it matches. So we're gonna call that one good. I'm gonna go to a number 7 then, because it was close on some of those other ones. So there's a 7, that works out nice. Pins are not color coded. So that's all you have to do. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take and slide this back in. And ideally, everything just goes together the way it's supposed to. And it didn't. Something was off. So what does that mean? That means, oh, no, that was close. Something's close. Because it almost turned. There we go. So obviously not ideal. We don't want to be jiggling our pins to get the door to work. So what we're going to do is we're going to retry. We're going to see which one is tall, and then we're going to replace it. Maybe this 7 and 8. So let's try an 8 over here. Should turn. Something is still snagging. It's a little bit easier than it was. Careful with that. I just pulled that pin off. But something is not working because it shouldn't have to do that. So we're gonna try again. Here it is. We got it. So now that it's free spinning past the lock, what happened was the key was pushing out at the bottom, and so once I was pushing it up straight, it was putting it in the right spot, but I had a too short of a pin on that one. So now you can pull the key out. So remember, if you're trying to match this key, you want to match the code on that key. But now those are the pins for this key. So this key we can throw right in the trash. Then we pull this out. And with all the pins out, that locks this one back in. As you can see, I can put it right back in and it opens. And be careful pulling it out because you'll pull all the pins out. You don't want to do that. You want the pins to lock this cylinder in place. So, done with that. I found the right key I was looking for. It was this one, because that's the same key I've been rekeying in my key box. What an amazing place to have it. Anyway, no number on this one. Now we got that figured out. Now we go to put it back together. So here we go ahead and pick up this little back plate. That covers the end of the key. Then you take this little spring, and I'm sure if any of you have luck like me, it will spring all the way across the room. But you pop that back down the hole. Then you can put your little brass pin back in. Now you can look, this brass pin is the same on both sides, little tapers, so it doesn't matter which way it goes in. Slide that back down in there. Then you put the lock shaft on there, or whatever that piece is called. Then you take your little threaded piece, and we're gonna go right back down over the top. Now again, you're gonna wanna push down on this little brass pin, because that's gonna keep you from threading this back on. So it might be hard to see, but it's the same brass pin that we held down when we unthreaded it. And then you just thread your piece back on. Now you don't want to get this overly tight, because then it locks up the whole mechanism. So tighten it up till you can't, and then pull it back one click. And then what you want to do is make sure that your key still fits and still turns. If you tighten it up too tight, it won't turn like that. Now you can take your lock, bring that right back over here, put that down in there, and replace your screw. Make sure it's in there pretty good and tight. One ugga dugga should be fine, and then that's it. You've got your lock, your key, and that's 90% of the work. The other 10% is just installing it. So come back next week, we'll go over the other 10%.